Good Thursday afternoon to you. Welcome to the John Sanchez Show on News Talk 70 KOH. It's a pleasure to be with you. We're joined by one of the two co-hosts, and he's back, ladies and gentlemen. No, not Corey. He is back. The one that has fulfilled the big shoes for like the last 3 months. Aaron Clark of Agility. How you doing,
I'm
buddy?
doing good. So am I like filling in for Corey
Good.
and Dwight or just one? Do we pick one?
You know what you are?
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, cool,
Two for
cool.
one. I'm getting my money's worth out of you today. 2 for 1. 2 for 1. Yeah, Dwight's tied up today in a meeting and not able to make it. So, yeah, you and I are going to handle the show today, as the
Nice.
saying goes. Yeah, can't wait, man. Could be a good time. All right, let me tell you what we do have lined up for you. Speaking of which, so today what we're going to do with Aaron is this. We're going to discuss the 10 biggest mistakes that homebuyers make. We'll call them some of the common ones. But more importantly, let's make sure that you understand how to avoid them. And again, we've directed this to where it doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer, whether you're moving up in your home, downsizing, purchasing an investment property, doesn't matter, because one bad decision can cost you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we're going to cover things like the financing mistakes, the inspections, the insurance, the negotiations, and again, some of the common pitfalls that are going on in this marketplace, Mr. Clark. So I think, you're definitely going to have to fill in for both Dwight and for Corey on this side of it. But I think between the two of us, we can get this handled. So, I know you like this topic, Aaron, and really from the standpoint that in life, of course, and in business especially, and when we're dealing with money, if we can avoid a lot of the major mistakes, right? We're all going to make mistakes, but if we can avoid the major ones, we're going to be so far ahead of everybody else, right? And especially in our own pocketbook. And I think that's one of the great things about this topic tonight is how do we really avoid these mistakes? Because in your world, obviously, people are dealing with a significant amount of money. Lawsuits happen and mistakes happen by everybody involved. And so, again, our goal tonight is we're going to lay out what these mistakes are, and Aaron's put together about 10 of them, and again, there's many more, right? We
Yeah,
probably could do 1,000
we could
mistakes,
do a
right?
show every day for a month on mistakes.
Every
Yeah.
day for the next 5 years on the mistakes to avoid. But so it's going to be a good one there. All right, before we get started in the stock market side of things today, and what a day that it was today, I want to just send out a really heartfelt thank you for all those that attended my webinar last night. We had an incredible time, great feedback from all of you. And again, I just want to thank each and every one of you. I'm going to try to make it a goal that we're doing at least 2 of these estate planning webinars a month because there's so many things I want to teach you about these estate plans, living trusts, and everything that's involved with it. But we had a great event. If you missed it, please, hopefully you can join our next one. It'll be obviously on a different topic. And then also, if you did miss it, most people don't do this, but I'm going to. I don't care. If you did miss it and you want to listen to what we and watch what we covered yesterday evening at 6:00, send me an email, John, Jon at specializedtrust.com, and I'll be more than happy to send you the Zoom recording of that. That way, again, you can watch it at your leisure, because I know a few people were not able to make it at the last minute, and so I promised them send them the recording, and I'll do the rest. Do that for the rest of you also. Okay, with that housekeeping set, let me get down to the stock market side of things today, because Mr. Clark, what a day it was. Did you see where this market finished at today?
I saw part of it when I was in between appointments, and it was a ticker on the bottom of something else I was watching, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Yeah. Is this
Yeah,
right?
I was shocked.
Yeah, we were coming so close, believe it or not, to 1,000-point gain on the Dow today. As I was doing the stock updates this morning, they were up another 100 from the report 30 minutes ago. We're up another 100 from the report 30 minutes ago. It was just one of those days where the stars aligned. Yields were down. Oil prices were a little bit higher today, but market didn't care about it. But what it did care about is a lot of the heavyweight stocks inside the Dow Jones Industrial Average were the leaders, like the Goldman Sachses of the world, et cetera, American Express, and just propelled this market up. This is one of those days you just kind of dream about. So here's how we finished. Then I'll tell you where the strength and some of the weakness was. So the strength was on the Dow side. Record close on the Dow, 875-point gain on the Dow, 1.73%, closing at 51,561. NASDAQ struggled throughout the day. For most of the morning, it was down triple digits, and we clawed our way back to almost positive territory, finished down 23. And the S&P 500 for the day finished up 31 points, 0.41% to a close of 7,584. The economic reports were somewhat light today. I'm not even going to bore you with those, but let's talk about where the strength and the weakness was. Excuse me. On the Dow side of things, big strength was United Health Group, again, a Dow component. Stock gained 5.16%, $19.47 rise to $396.47. a good earnings guidance. We had Blackstone up 7.5%, $8.27 gain. Humana was up because of United Health, up about $22.35. Google finally starting to recover a little bit. It's had a tough week, up $13.69 to $369.37. But where we saw the weakness, again, we've got to watch this closely. Last couple days now, we're starting to see some of the weakness in some of the chip stocks related to the AI trade. For example, Broadcom, AVGO, the symbol, lost $60.32 today, a 12.59% loss to 418.91. Sienna was down $84.74, 13.66% decline to 535.63, and CrowdStrike lower by $28.52, 3.81% loss to 719.09. Really no specific news. The earnings have been pretty much coming in those names and in that sector pretty much have been coming in line with expectation, which is never good enough, right? Wall Street is spoiled. They want to see numbers that blow past earnings expectation. So we're seeing that. Plus, of course, we're seeing profit taking again. Those names were just on a tear over the last month or so. So a little bit of profit taking, nothing again whatsoever to be worried about. Mr. Clark, let's kind of bring everybody up to date on the year to date numbers, because it was a heck of a May, and June starting off pretty doggone good also. Listen to these numbers, folks. The Dow's our laggard with a 7.3% gain. That's the laggard. We moved to the S&P 500 year to date up 10.8%. The Nasdaq is now higher by 15.4%, and the Russell, the little guys, 18.3%
That's
increase.
crazy.
So yeah, isn't it crazy? I mean,
It's
here we
funny
are,
because the cycle of the news and everything, and everything's always so negative. So you walk away thinking,
yes,
oh my gosh, everything's negative. I've lost so much money. And then you look at the actual percentages and the numbers, and people don't realize it's like, hey, it's long term, number one. And number two, we're seeing massive movements. It's a huge shift going on right now with all this AI stuff.
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I think and I'll admit I'm in this camp. I don't know about you, Aaron. You're very tech savvy also, but I don't think in my mind I ever thought that AI was going to have the impact that it is having on the stock market.
I
How about
didn't
you?
know. I did not.
Okay,
I mean, I
yeah,
thought it
a
would
lot of
have
people are that way.
some sort of major move in a certain direction, but I wasn't quite sure. I
Right.
actually never thought you would see such dramatic increase on the hardware side with the scarcity of like RAM right now and components and having to ramp all that up
Yes.
as much as we're doing so with data centers and things like that. I guess we
Yeah.
should have,
Not.
but I guess we just didn't understand it.
I know. I know we should have. Yeah. In retrospect, you look back and you go, geez, the V8 slapped to your head. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I should have thought about that. But trust me, we're not alone. I mean, there's some lot smarter people than myself on Wall Street that are saying the same thing. It's like no one had a clue. I think the revolution of AI and all of the ancillary benefits of it, right? Like you said, hardware, software, chips. I mean, so many different areas. I think we're probably a couple years ahead of what many thought we were going to be as far as the maturation of AI, right? The data. I never in a million years thought we could see data centers pop up like modular
No.
homes. I mean, we see it here locally. We, of course, see it nationwide, and obviously the amount of money that it's costing. I mean, again, Google a couple days ago announced they had to go raise $80 billion and borrow $10 billion from Berkshire Hathaway for data center build outs, and these things are just they're needed everywhere. But it's a fascinating time. I saw a comment, I forget who it was by the other day, and they said this is going to be far greater impact, positive impact, of course, to the economy than what we ever saw with the dot-com era, right?
We're already seeing
And I
that.
agree with this.
100%.
Yeah, we're already
Yeah.
seeing it. You're absolutely right. We're already seeing it. It's absolutely fascinating. Quick question before we go to break, and while we're on technology, what is your feeling, being the tech guru that you are? What is your feeling on this announcement this week with NVIDIA creating a new chip for Dell and Microsoft and a lot of the hardware makers that's really designated for AI, operating AI in a laptop and in a computer?
I mean, I
You think
think we're going to
you think
see
it's
leaps
kind
of
of
bounds.
BS, or do you think it's
No, I think
go ahead?
I think it's an arms branch of quantum computing that we're going to see just an accelerated explosion taking place
Yes.
in growth of technology like we've never seen before. I mean, far
Right.
surpassing what anybody's expectations are.
Yes. 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 I think unless you're Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, I don't know if anybody has the crystal ball. We've seen, I remember when AI started becoming prevalent, a few years ago. And, you'd go to Best Buy or wherever, Apple Store, and, not so much Apple Store, but mainly Best Buy, where they have all these different brands of PCs. And, oh, this PC's made for AI and everything. And I don't think that ever took off. It's like, okay, what are you doing special versus a non-quote AI,
Yeah.
specialized laptop? But now with the new chip that NVIDIA has come out with, they're saying it's just going to revolutionize the computing power, to your point, and who knows, all the great things that are going to come out of stronger computing power. And then quantum, which we haven't had a chance to really talk a lot about on this show, but we need to at some point, because that's really the next generation. That's, take a look at IBM, the leader in quantum computing at this point, at least. And yeah, it's a fascinating time to be alive. It really is, especially for tech junkies like you and I. You got to get the latest and greatest thing
Yeah.
out there. So anyways, fun times. All right, so you're up to date in the market. That means we get an early start when we come back. Get down into our topic again, covering the 10 most common mistakes that Mr. Clark sees in the world of real estate, whether you're a home buyer, seller, etc. We're going to tell you what those are, and most importantly, how to avoid them. Welcome back to the John Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH. Quit saying those things during
I
the
will.
break, Aaron Clark. Aaron Clark, eventually our very special guest, of course, co-hosting with me this afternoon. All right, once again, a record-setting day for the Dow, up 875, 1.73%. NASDAQ down 23, and the S&P higher by 31 points. So great, solid day across the board. But it is time now to move into the purpose of each Tuesday and Thursday show, and that is to highlight the incredible knowledge that Mr. Clark has, and we're going to do exactly that. As I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to discuss 10 of the biggest mistakes that home buyers make. How to avoid them, that is our goal. Let's get right to it, Aaron. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with mistake number one. I've heard you say this one a million times. You fall in love with the property before you do the math. Explain yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to start with a story in these situations.
Yes.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I sit down with somebody and I go, okay, what are we looking for? What's the budget? Whatever. And we sit there, we crunch all the numbers, we try to stay within it. And then it's like, I don't know, they don't find what they want, or they just get a wild hair, and they search outside of that budget and realm, and they see something they really like, of course. And they go,
Of course.
can we go see this? And they go, it's not where you said you wanted to be. And they're like, well, we still want to see, we just want to get an idea. We just want to see it. And I go, I'm telling you, you don't want to do that. No, but we just want to do it. Okay, fine. So, sometimes it's better for people to learn from experience rather than the wisdom of
Yes.
somebody else, right? So
Yeah.
then you go and see it, they
Yeah.
fall in love, and then they're going, okay, now how do we make this happen? Which is way
Yes.
above. What do we sell? Who do we call? Which parent do we ask for money? Can we call Dwight and see if we can get more money? I know we said we didn't want to be stretched this way. And it happens all the time. And it's because
It does.
people get in the mindset or position of not sticking to that budget and trying to reach beyond. And the budget
Yep.
is there to keep you in the framework. It reminds me of like, when you go bowling for the first time and they put the bumpers in the gutters so you don't, when you're
Yes.
little,
Yes.
like you got to stay in the middle. Like you don't need to go out of that. If you do, you fall in love with something and then you try to make your budget fit what you want and what you're emotionally
Yeah.
attached to instead of the
Yeah.
other way.
I feel like I'm confessing to my father here, Father Aaron. I'll, as always, I'm an open book. The last 3 real estate transactions I have done, I'm number one. I shopped
Yeah,
emotionally, and
everybody
I did
does.
everything. I did
Yeah.
everything you just said. Everything you just said. Yeah, it happens because you see something, and I think Corey said this many times. You visualize
Yeah.
yourself in that property, right? The Christmas tree, the family gatherings, this, the that, and then me being Mr. Optimistic, it's like we'll figure out a way to make it work. And knock on wood, it all has worked out. But my out of the last 3 properties, the second one was when I bought my home in Lake Tahoe in the Tahoe Keys. Did I ever tell you that story real quick? So you know me, I never take a vacation, right? So this was night calm boom going on. Like, you know what? And I just broke out on my own. I just went independent earlier that year. Like, okay, I'm going to take some time. So we're living in Bakersfield. I told the family, like, I'm going to take you back to my hometown of Reno, right? I want to go and I want to go see my football coach and talk to some friends, all this. So we rent a house in the Tahoe Keys. And all the family from around the country came, and we had the most incredible week. And I worked and had a little leisure time. The day we were getting ready to leave, we're driving out of the Tahoe Keys, and I look at we were going down to go get some coffee, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Doesn't this just feel like home?" She goes, "Yeah, it does." And I said, "Okay, how we can, instead of renting, throwing away all the rent, and because we know we want to come back here for a vacation. Who am I? Because I never take a vacation. I said, let's just buy some. So we pull into one of the local real estate offices in the Keys, and we go in and we meet with the agent of the day or the broker of the day, and said, we really like the Keys. What do you have? She goes, let me show you. We drive over. We look at one house here, one
And you
house.
bought it.
I bought it right on the spot within a half hour. Within a half
That
hour of
agent was
getting ready to
really
drive back,
happy.
really happy. Within a half hour, I bought the house. I opened escrow, but here's the icing on the cake. So all the family was still there in town. So we go over to Zephyr Cove, right? And it was a beautiful day. It was in July. It was a beautiful day. We go over to Zephyr Cove, and we're sitting there, and the family's on the beach, and the music's going, and the drinks are flowing, and everything is great. Well, my brother decided that he really wanted to serve me a lot of Bloody Marys. And so he serves the Bloody Marys, and all of a sudden, we didn't have cell phones then. I had pagers. So I get a page from the real estate agent at about, I don't know, 6 o'clock, and kind of two sheets to the wind at that point, and to be honest. And she goes, John, it's so and so. And I said, yeah. She goes, congratulations, your offer was accepted. And I went, you got to be kidding me. I really didn't want it accepted, but really it's accepted. Yep. And next thing I know, and I just bought a 3,500 square foot house like 4 months before in Bakersfield, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then 9/11 hits.
Oh my
So we
gosh.
opened escrow in July, then September 9/11 hits. And when that whole thing was going on, we hadn't closed escrow yet. What am I doing? But there's a perfect example of an emotional buy. The 3,500 square foot house, I was out on a Saturday by myself. It's like, I'm going to go take a drive. What do I do? Go to an open house. I could never afford this house, never do it. Big, beautiful, giant 3,500 square foot house, only a year old. Bought it right on the spot. Didn't even bring my wife over to look at it. Open escrow right on the spot. How stupid am I? Right? So yeah, so that's, and kind of the same thing with a ranch. I woke up one day and I said, I'm tired of living in the Tahoe Keys. I'm tired of my neighbor being, 5 feet from me. I need to spread my wings a little bit. And so we drive out to Smith Valley and just find this property online, drive out to Smith Valley and drive down the driveway. It was a dreary, snowy day in February, and open escrow about an hour later on that one. So yeah, you talk about impulses, you're preaching to the choir. Luckily, everything has worked out. But yeah, don't feel bad if you have your own stories on that one. Oh, all right. Here's the other mistake I made. I didn't get pre-approved first. So that's going to be your second point when we come back. Not getting pre-approved before you go on one of these, spur of the moment buying sprees, right? Welcome back to the John Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780K with Aaron Clark of Edge Realty. Once again, a stellar day for the Dow. The Dow rose 875 points. Still hard for me to say that.
It's crazy.
875 points. It really is. 1.73%. Nasdaq down 23, and the S&P higher by just 30. All right, we just got warmed up and get into our topic once again. The 10 most common mistakes home buyers make. And so we said the first one, I embarrassed myself and said all the mistakes that I have made. Falling in love before doing the math, shopping emotionally. All right, let's go to number 2. Not getting pre-approved first. Yep, Aaron, I fell into that one also. So let's talk about that one and the importance of it, why it's such a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that they can afford something just because they're using a mortgage calculator, whatever else. They know how much money they have down. They don't understand. Dwight talks about this all the time, that your credit score has so much effect on what the cost to borrow money is. So you might be using what you've heard out there on interest rates. And unfortunately, some people out there still think rates are 3.5%, right? And so you're
Right.
crunching numbers on all this information. And I hear it all the time. People will call me and they go, out of the blue, my friend told me to call you. We found a house we want to buy. And I'm like, okay, well, where are you at in the process? That's the first time we've talked.
Yeah.
We just know we can afford it. Okay, well, what does that mean? And you got to ask a million questions. Finally, you realize they haven't met with the lender. No one's ran their credit. They don't know what their budget is. They don't know what it costs. They don't understand the cost of insurance. They don't understand that they're in a flood zone. They don't understand anything. So you have to get
Right.
pre-approved first so that we know the budget. And here's the thing. Even the most stellar person who might be using Credit Karma and all these other apps, whatever, that tell you that your credit score is 1 million points or whatever, none of those, one, they're not accurate. And two, you don't know until Dwight runs your credit if you have somebody that's scamming you and stealing your identity. And that's when we pop something up that's going to take us 6 months to a year to fix. So that's why I always tell people, if you think you might want to buy a home, the best time to get pre-approved is now. And if you don't think you're going to buy a home in the next year or so, guess what the best time is to get pre-approved? Now. The answer is always now, because it gives you a trajectory to aim for and a budget to work towards. Because also,
That is
even
absolutely
if you
yes.
don't want to buy a home today, if you do meet with
Mhm.
Dwight, you run all the numbers and you just get something, gives you a roadmap to work on and
Yes.
helps you
Yes.
understand, okay, if I really want to better myself and put myself in a better position to buy, I might be really far away from it, but now I have a goal. And in order to get to that goal, I need to
Right.
save an extra $500 a month for the next 3 years,
Mhm.
which is when I'm ready to buy a home or whatever it is.
Right.
So
Right.
get pre-approved
Right.
first.
Do you come across many people that are that financially disciplined though?
No, no one is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
have
what I was
clients
wondering.
that make so much money, I just scratch my head and go, how do you do it? And they can't
Right.
pay cash for anything. Everything's borrowed and they
Right.
can barely put a down
No
payment
kidding.
on. And I just scratch my head and go, "Well, okay." So it's true. I
Yeah.
mean, in a perfect world, we talk about budgets and finances and savings and people struggle. But, I look at it like if we can get a couple percentage points closer to doing better, then it still progressively helps us to be in a better situation in the future. And just like compounding interest, it compounds our ability to buy. I don't know if you can hear me, John, but I have lost you. I cannot hear you at all. I
Oh,
hear
okay.
you.
Sorry, button got clicked. There we go. So let's go to point number three, which you talked a lot about. And boy, this is such a common one, especially for first time buyers. Mistake number three is focusing only on the mortgage payment.
Yeah, so people will use those mortgage calculators, especially on the fancy websites like Zillow and all that, that try to tell you exactly what your payment's going to be. It usually will only include your interest and your principal payment. It does not include your taxes, your insurance. It's not going to include, like, a lot of people nowadays too, we have HOAs.
HOAs.
Yep. It doesn't include maintenance costs. If you think that buying a home just is whatever the payment is going to be, even if you have all those calculated, it's $2,400 a month. Okay, great. So your payment's $2,400 a month. Well, next year, when your insurance renews and they determine that now rates are going to go up, taxes are also going to go up. Well, your mortgage payment just went up $150 a month. Oh, and by the way, the HOA all voted and they decided that they're going to do a special. I have a client right now. They're doing a special assessment on a building within a complex in a condominium where the building is sinking. So they're charging an assessment fee to everybody whose building isn't sinking to pay an extra, like, I think it's $5,000 over the next 2 years. Well, that's going to increase their payment by several $100s a month. So you got to make sure that those are calculated as the ability to pay those, and then your maintenance costs. You need to have a plan in case your dishwasher goes out or these are expensive items, and you don't want to be incurring another finance mortgage loan type thing on a.
Right. 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 Yeah, and I see this especially with young people, like I said, or people that have been out of the housing market for quite some time. They have no idea these additional costs, especially the property taxes and the homeowners and the HOAs. You nailed that. Let's go to mistake number four: waiting for the perfect interest rate. Right? If Dwight was here, he'd say, "Now's the perfect interest rate." Right? It always is. So let's talk about that
Yeah,
real
I
quick.
mean, we always talk about this. Like people try to time the market perfectly. I have clients right now, we're in escrow and they're floating their mortgage and the lender says, okay, well, we're going to try to lock it at the perfect time. And I always tell them, can you afford it right now? Do you feel good about it? And they go, yeah. And I go, lock it, because I don't know what Trump's going to say or what's going to happen in the market or what missile's going to get sent to what country that's going
Sure.
to affect your rate tomorrow. So if you can afford it now,
Sure.
lock it. If you can afford to buy,
Great advice.
lock it. Because you can always refinance down the road or, you know, change your situation if it doesn't work, or sell the house because you can't afford it. But if you
Right.
get into a position where you're not locking and you're playing that game and rates shoot up and your increase in payment goes up 300, 400, $500, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, and you're
Yep,
disqualified, right? That's the thing,
exactly.
because remember, you're not done till that escrow is done. Right? Dwight runs that credit for the last time, and yeah, we've seen it all happen. All right, let's go to number five: skipping inspections. I know this is a big pet peeve of yours.
Yes, we always want to make sure we're getting inspections. And at the very least, we want to get a home inspection, which is kind of like when you go to your doctor, your general doctor, and you say, hey, I don't feel good. And then they kind of check everything out in your whole body and ask you a bunch of questions. And then they determine, well, maybe it's your heart. We're going to send you to a heart specialist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a cardiologist.
Mm-hmm.
Just a plain old home inspection. They'll check everything and then they can tell you, hey, this furnace is acting funny. It's beyond the scope of my expertise, but something is wrong. We need to get an HVAC company in here. So we want to get roof inspected. We want to get plumbing issues checked. We don't want to buy the home, afford everything that we just talked about on mistakes number 1 through 4, And then all of a sudden we find out that something is in a catastrophic state and it goes out on us. And that's $20,000 that we could have prevented by just getting the right inspection, which cost me a couple $100 on the front end. And we made the seller pay for it because they would have to fix it
Yep.
anyways. So get those inspections.
I had a friend a couple years ago. Matter of fact, I brought Richard Lace in on the deal. Pardon me. And older home and great deal. They rented it for a number of years. Seller finally said, or landlord finally said, "Hey, I want to sell it." Great, we're going to jump on it. He happened to be a contractor. They go through everything. They get down to the inspection. The foundation was basically crooked, right? And luckily the home inspector caught that. Even the contractor himself, he didn't catch it, but the home inspector caught it, and obviously they turned away from that deal. So I remember when my father bought a house over off of Mayberry, same thing. It was a brand new house, but guess what? There was a flooding problem, right? They didn't when they graded the housing tract, they didn't put the right swells in and everything. First time swales. The first time it had a bad rain, guess what? His crawl space under his house flooded, massive amounts of damage. Luckily, the home builder picked it up, but those are things that can happen.
Happens
You get
all the
into
time.
foundation, especially. Yep, exactly. Yeah, especially the older homes, you get into termites, and I mean, we all know that. So, yeah, do not skip on that inspection. Let's squeeze in number 6 real quick. Going to be a short one because you've already touched on this. Ignoring the insurance costs. People that have been out of the home market or haven't been or have never been in there, they have no idea what's going on with
Yeah, we're
homeowners
having a
insurance,
lot of
fire
issues
zones,
with
floods.
fire zones and insurance cancellations, non-renewals, things like that. Now we actually in our new templated offer and acceptance forms that we use through the MLS and the Association of Realtors, they added a new contingency in there of insurance, being able to get that approved and
Interesting.
being able to check with an insurance company to make sure that it is covered and able to be covered. So we need to make sure of that on
Interesting.
the front end. And we can avoid those things a lot
Okay.
by just knowing, having an experienced realtor is going to say, hey, those are in a flood zone, or those have this issue, or those have that
Right.
issue.
Right. Right. All right. Very good. Okay. We're going to come back with number 6, which is a very, very important one. Draining every dollar that you have just for the down payment. We're talking about the 10 biggest mistakes that buyers make. Welcome back to the John Sanchez Show on News Talk 7OH with Aaron Clark of Edgeability. Your phone number, Mr. Clark.
673-6700.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. I forgot to mention, obviously in Dwight's absence, the mortgage side of things today. So according to Mortgage News Daily, the 30-year mortgage nationwide down 3 basis points for the day to a 6.58% number. All right, we're talking again about the 10 common mistakes that buyers make. And Aaron, this is a very good one that ties in perfectly with your first couple points, which is draining every dollar for the down payment. Let's talk about that one for a
Yeah,
second.
I mean, Dwight's going to say, well, how much money do you have down payment wise? Here's the rate breakdown, et cetera, et cetera. I get people all the time. They go, let's say they're putting $300,000 down on a house, and that's everything. It's like they act like if they put 275,000, it's going to have such a drastic impact on their mortgage. And it's like, no, listen, you said you want to come in here, you want to paint, you want to remodel this, you want to buy this, you need to set up that, whatever. Take the 25K and do it so that you're not borrowing on your credit card for that. That's a
Right,
way
right,
better
right.
opportunity for you. So you want to make sure you have some reserves so that you can pay for things like that. And when you move into somebody else's house on a resale, there's stuff that is left over from them that you're going to want to get rid of, carpets, things like that, paint. That stuff costs money, especially nowadays. I mean,
Yes, it
you
is.
used to be able to buy
Yes.
a gallon of paint for like 15, $20. It's not it's almost $100 for a gallon of paint of the good stuff.
Is it
Oh yeah.
really?
It's
Oh my
crazy.
goodness.
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal. So yeah, don't drain every dollar you have for the down payment. Let's go to number 8. Buying too much house. Oh yes, keeping up with the Joneses, as we like to call it.
Yeah, exactly. I get people that get in a position where they have to have that house because they're keeping up the Jones things, whatever. And then they start calling someone like you and saying, hey, we want to take from our retirement to buy this house. And it's like, listen, that money, that's where I think the number one mistake people make within that realm of the mistake of buying too much house is they start pulling money out of things that are, I mean, that money is growing their money to pay their future selves, and they get caught up in, but I have to have this home, I gotta have this, I know I
Mm-hmm.
can't afford it, but I need to figure out a way to afford it. And so you steal from yourself, your future retirement, just to have something that you don't really need. So that's why, that going back to number one, the budget is super important, and sticking to that budget, don't branch out no matter what.
Great advice. Number 9. Ignoring the resale value. Oh, that's a good one because a lot of people never think about the resale. They're too excited at the
Yeah,
purchase.
like it kind of relates to number eight because I'll have people that they really want to be in a specific neighborhood. There might be a house that's on a corner where it's a busy street, whatever, and they go, it's no big deal because at least we can get in that neighborhood. And then they call me
Hmm.
5, 10 years later to sell that house, and the market isn't quite what it was when they were trying to buy. They're on that busy street or right next to a school or something like that. And then they get into a position where they're trying to resell that house and people don't want it. And the demand isn't high enough for people to look beyond that. So you got to think about your resale value in the area that it's in, where it looks, the direction it faces, the layout of the floor plan, etc.
And future growth, right? Future
Absolutely.
growth. If you're
Yeah.
buying at the edge of a housing track and there's empty fields behind you, what's going to be
Yeah.
coming that way? Who
Or like
knows?
right now, the
But
big
yeah, it's
controversy in Red Hawk is them getting rid of half the golf course to build homes. Those people are livid because that's not what they bought when they got there. Now that's
that's right.
something you can't really foresee, but you got to think about the fact, what about all those people on Northgate Golf Course that during the crash, the city stopped paying for the golf course. The homeowners couldn't afford to pay for it as an HOA. So it just turned into desert. They just let it die. So those are the types of things that you are taking a bit of a risk depending on that, and that will affect your resale value. So you want to be cognizant of.
Well, not only that, but here's a newer one, and not so much in our area, but let me tell you, you go back east, and that is data centers.
Yeah, data centers
Right?
are huge.
There's a big controversy right now. People, they're in their nice, quiet little,
Mm-hmm.
123 Main Street house. Everything's great. And all of a sudden, here comes Amazon Meta or somebody building a massive, massive data center right down the block, right? And everyone's complaining about the humming of the ACs, complaining about everything. That's something, again, very common nowadays.
Yeah, that and the other thing that we're seeing, not so much, but it's happened to me a few times, is there is some urban development with like halfway houses and things like that that are popping up.
Right, right.
And you do have to think about that. I mean, you don't really have much control over it, and it can happen after you've already
Right.
moved. But, I mean, that does have an effect on people don't want to live in that situation.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And our mistake number 10, not thinking long term. We pretty much covered that. Aaron, great eye opening pieces of advice. That's the bottom line. Just be careful. And this is where, again, a great professional agent like Aaron and Corey come into play. They will not let these things happen to you. Great job, my friend. We'll do it again tomorrow on the John Sanchez Show. God bless. Have a great afternoon.
How did I lose
Beautiful.
you on that? Was it something I did when you were muted?
What do you mean? How'd you lose me? No, I had to cough and I hit the mute button and I thought I unmuted it and it didn't.
I was like
So
staring at
once
your
again, on
mouth,
me.
trying to lip read what the heck you were saying 'cause I knew what was
But you
next.
handled it very professionally. John, we've got some problems. I just sat there and talked because I can't tell on this
We
end
need a
other than the
cue or
next or
something
the.
when we're at that last 15 seconds so I don't
I
accidentally
know. I was
talk.
thinking the same thing. Yeah. I rub my
Yeah, I
nose
don't
or
know.
something. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard for you. You can't hear. Oh, all right, buddy. Well, great job
All
as
right,
always.
we'll talk to you
Pleasure to be
later.
with you. All right,
Have a good
man.
weekend.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. You too.